Hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome. Welcome to our webinar for today, everybody. My name is Kyle. I am a customer support specialist with Boom Learning. And today our webinar is called How to Score an A+ Store. And I'm very excited to host Jean-Michel, who will be talking about how to set up your store page and be an author and how to be featured. Before I switch over to Jean-Michel, I have a few things I want to cover really quickly. Today's webinar will be recorded, so if you want to review it later at any time you want, it will be on our YouTube page, and we'll include a link to our YouTube page in the chat. You can also talk with us in the chat if you have any comments or you just want to say hello. Also, we're live streaming to Facebook, so there is a link to our Facebook page as well. I am going to launch a little poll for fun in the meantime. Please let us know how long you have been selling for. And if you're comfortable, share your pen name in the chat and let us go look at what you're working on. We'd love to see and get inspiration from you, and I'm sure authors would love to learn some little tips and tricks from one another. So please, now's your time to share your name and let everybody know what you're working on. If you have any questions, we can let everyone see the answer if you use the Q&A box below. So if you have any questions for us, Boom Learning support agents are behind the scenes, ready to answer your questions. At the end of the webinar, there is a feedback survey that's very helpful for us, and we would be very appreciative if you filled it out for us so that we can learn more about your needs and what will actually help you in your classroom. That's it for me. I'm going to go ahead and hand over the presentation to Jean-Michel, who will have her whole presentation is in Boom Cards, which is very, very exciting. And I'm very happy to see her How to Score an A+ Store presentation.
Thank you, Kyle. So hello, everyone. My name is Janice Rosado, and I'll be showing you and presenting you how to score an A+ store in Boom Learning. So I saw from the poll that a couple of you are newbies like selling, and we have also people who have been selling for more than a year or less than a year. So welcome all. If you want, you go to the chat box and put there your pen name or the name of your store, so we can get to see who's here and whose stores are here. So you can do that right now. I'll be sharing my screen in the meantime. Okay, let me see. I don't know why. Okay, there you go. Okay, so we have, let's see, we have Rainbow Teachables. Welcome. We have the Viral Teachers, Nips and Snails, Reading Specialty, Buck, I think, the Education Equation, the ESL Educator, Reading by Heart. So that's amazing. Thank you all, and welcome again. So today we're going to be talking about how to score an A+ store. So this is what we'll be covering today, is how to sell, how to get an A+ pen name, logo, titles, cover images, description, acknowledgement, keywords, subjects and grades, clip art, fonts, gifs, like how you can get those and how you can use them, how to use the external sales PDF link, copyright and legal stuff, best practices for your Boom store, how to get featured at the very end. And lastly, we will have our live Q&A. So make sure to stay until the very end for us to answer those questions live. So I wanted to start the webinar with a quote, and it says, "Create something that will make the world awesome," by key president. So I wanted to show you and tell you this quote because sometimes as sellers, we focus on sales and how to sell and how to get to the buyer. But we also need to keep in mind that who's this deck going to? And that is our students. And so they'll be the one that are going to be playing the deck and learning with your resources. So keep this as your motivation while you are creating your resources and while you're putting them out to the world. So yeah, that's the first thing we have today. And so now let's go ahead and talk about how to sell. So you probably already know this, but I saw that we have a couple of newbies. So the first thing you need to do is you need to have a publisher membership. This is $50 a year, and what it allows you, it gives you the seller's license. So this is why you need to have this membership, this publisher membership. So later, or then you need to create your brand name, which is the name of your store. After you have the name of the store, you can create your logo. And we'll be talking about all of these points in throughout the webinar. But yeah, you need to have your logo, and it needs to be memorable and catchy and eye-catchy, and we'll be covering those. So after you have your paint name, your logo, you need to start creating decks. And so, like I mentioned, this will go to the students. So keep that in mind while you're creating those and make them as fun as possible. And then after you create your decks, you need to set a title, a cover image, a description, some keywords, subjects, and grades, and a couple of other stuff. So that's after you create your deck. Also, super important, you need to acknowledge authors. So if you use an image, if you use a certain font or an audio, you need to acknowledge those artists. So that's it before you publish that deck to the store. So after you acknowledge your authors, you can go ahead and publish your deck to your store, and that's how you can start selling boom cards. If you want some extra sales, you can go ahead and promote your deck on social media. And that could be Instagram, yeah, that could be YouTube. And we actually have some webinars the past 2 weeks that teach you how to promote and market your boom cards on social media. So after this webinar, you can check those and see how you can promote your boom cards on social media. Also, you can have external sales on or sales on other marketplaces, such as Etsy, your blog, etc. So that will take you to have extra sales. And this is how you can get an A+ store on how to sell, on A+ on how to sell. Next, we have pen name. So the pen name is the name of your store. So you need to keep in mind that it needs to be catchy. So when a teacher is trying to, let's say she's doing a boom card and she was like, oh my God, my students love this boom card. Let's say, so which, what's the name of the author or the name of the store? So it needs to be catchy. It also needs to be memorable. So when she's trying to remember the name of your store, be like, which one is it? Oh, Science is Booming, for example. So for example, my name is Johnny Shell. And I gotta say it's pretty hard to spell and to write. So I probably won't be using my name as a pen name because it will be hard for a teacher or a buyer to remember the name of my store. So I need to create something new like Speech are Us or Learn and Grow. So it needs to be catchy, it needs to be memorable. You can use your specialty. So for example, we have here OT crate. So what do you guys think that's it? Like, what does this store sells? Let's see on the chat. OT crate. What do you guys think that store sells? Materials for teachers, for science teachers. Excellent, Laura. Thank you. It's Helen occupational therapy. Exactly. So if you want, and this is something that educators and sellers use a lot, they add this specialty to their logo or their pen name. So for example, we have Science is Booming. This is a science teacher, of course. We have Speech are Us, which is an SOP. And you can also, exactly, materials for occupational therapists. So you can also use your name if you want your name to be the brand of your store. You can use your name. For example, we have Stacy Krause that uses her name as the brand of the name of her store. So you can also use your name if it's like a catchy or simple name. Like I mentioned, I won't be using Johnny Shell for the name of my store because it won't be memorable. So if you think and you want to use your name, you can also use that. And lastly, it needs to be original. So for example, you don't want to have your specialty on it, you don't want to have your name, but you need it to be catchy and memorable and original. So for example, here we have Learn and Grow. So it's something that the educator can remember and, look for your store right away. And so these are some tips that will get your pen name an A+. So now let's go ahead and talk about your logo. So for the logo, we recommend it to be clear. So for example, here we have a gift of speech logo. So as you can see, it is pretty clear. She have a clear background, just a speech bubble with the name of the store and her face. So it needs to be clear. It also needs to be readable. So let's go ahead and click there. So here we have pep talk. She is not using her face, but she, as you can see, is using like a clear background and like a really readable font. So you can see from, I don't know if it's this small, you'll be able to see pep talk. This is her logo. So it also, like I mentioned, needs to be catchy, just as your eye-catchy, just as your pen name. So like, for example, this one, as you can see, it has like vibrant colors. She's smiling, and those, like her fonts, they are actually readable. And if you see, she have like a background to it, to like the font, behind the font, so you can read the name of her store. So if you're scrolling like through resources or through social media, it is recognizable. So it also needs to be memorable. So for example, just like we mentioned, it needs to be eye-catching and memorable. So here we have Bilingual Plaza. So as you can see, she just used that like street sign and to put like Bilingual Plaza, and then she uses like the world like behind, because it is bilingual, like multiple languages. So it needs to be also, you can have a photo of you, and what this will give your store is like a persona. It will make it more personal. Someone can identify with you, and it gives, like I mentioned, it gives your brand a persona. So this logo right here is one of our popular ones, and like many sellers use this as their logo. They just use their faces and have like a banner with the name of the store. So you can use this, and we've seen that educators love this type of logo. If you don't want to show your face, you can have a drawing or an art of you. So for example, here we have Carissa Creates, and she used like this drawing of her. So you can also have a drawing of you and, you know, have something that describes you, but you're not actually showing your face. So it also needs to be original. So here we have Science Bath, and I love it because it is super original, it is readable, it is memorable, and you can see like this store is selling science resources. So I really loved it. And like I mentioned, it needs to describe you. So for example, you love your for example, here you love the color, the yellow color. So that describes you, and you are using yellow for all of your resources, for example. That also needs to be in your logo, that that thing that identifies you and describes you. So we have here shine, and if you see like everything in yellow, or you see her logo like this small, you'll identify that that's shine. So, and that's how you can get an A+ logo. So here are some examples. Please keep those in mind when you're creating yours. So now let's move on to titles. So for titles, you need to keep in mind to keep them student friendly, because like I mentioned before, those decks are going to students and they will be playing the decks. They will see the title to look for the assignments. So when you are creating your title, please keep in mind that the students also see that title. So if you're putting, I don't know, like Valentine's Day at the beginning and then put in like addition, for example, they probably won't see addition. They will only see Valentine's Day. So please keep in mind that students are also looking for your titles. Also, teacher friendly, because they're assigning those decks. So the buyer also see this, but the teacher also see these titles. So they need to assign, and when they assign like multiple decks at the same time, they probably won't see the full name. They just look for addition 1 to 10 and then addition 10 to 20, for example. So please keep in mind to put those at the beginning, like the assignment per se, and then like anything extra. And you need to keep in mind that titles are also used for discoverability in the store. So if you keep it short and to the point, it will be better. And like I mentioned, if multiple, like in a bundle, number at the beginning, like I mentioned, 1 to 10, and then 10 to 20, that first, and then at the very end, you can put like Valentine's Day theme. And so this is how you can score an A+ title. If you have any questions, please put those on the Q&A box. And if you have any comments, please put those on the chat box. I am looking at it. So cover images. For cover images, I'm using the feature page as an example. So you want to keep your title short. So for example, here you're seeing sequencing. So that's like the title, and pretty big and short, and then any other detail that you may want. If you want to add info about the deck, please keep that also short. For example, we have here school social stories, and then social emotions, cell advocacy. So those type of things, you can also put them on the cover image, but please keep it short. You need to created eye-catching because you want to sell those. And again, if an educator is scrolling through the store, you want your cover image to be eye-catching for them to actually be like, oh, let's see this one. So it needs to be eye-catching. You can also put, if it's seasonal, use the colors, use the put, if it's, for example, here, if it's Valentine's Day, put that at the very top so it would be also eye-catching. But it also needs to be clear. So what we mentioned here is like a clear background with the title and maybe the activity, for example, here, Valentine's verbs, and a screenshot of card or cards on your deck. So keep in mind that teachers are only getting a preview for cards. So maybe you want to add to that cover image card that is not on the preview. So that's a tip that you can use. So screenshot of card or cards. You can include your logo. So again, if someone remembers your logo and they are scrolling through the store, they'll be like, oh wait, this is from OT Crate. Let's see this one. And they probably want to purchase your materials because they already know they are good. And also, if it's a freebie, you can also put that on the cover image, so it'll be eye-catching. And if someone is just scrolling and they don't have, I don't know, they don't want to spend money on this activity, you may want to put, hey, this is a freebie, you may want to look at it. So those are for cover images, and that is how you get an A+ on cover images. So now for the description. So let's see, we have a word search here. Let's see if you can find some of the things that your description should be. And you have like a help here because you already have the highlight. So let's see if you can find something. If you find something, please put that on the chat. I'm going to be putting something over here. So excellent consists. Okay, perfect. So we already find one. Thank you. So yeah, excellent. So it needs to be concise. So for your description, think about exact match searches. So your description also is used for your discoverability on the store. So we need to be concise. You don't want to be using a lot of words that are not as helpful. So you want to be concise with your description. Also, it needs to have the instructions for the teacher, or you may want to put instructions for the teacher if it's not like, I don't know, like a super simple deck, maybe a flow magic deck with 100 cards. You may want to put the instructions for the teachers on your description. So again, think about that they only see 4 preview cards before purchasing a deck. So you want to let them know about the content of the deck. So let's see if someone else find another word. Like, I don't know, over here. We have concise. We have instructions for the teacher. So here we have relevant. So your description, it needs to be relevant. So like I mentioned, what you put on your description, it needs to be concise and relevant. So it is like what an activity that you have on your deck, or what type of, I don't know, if you're using multiple choice or if you're using fill in the blank. So it needs to be relevant for what you're having. And with that, we have, oh no, sorry, it's not that. there you go. It's content summary. So like I mentioned, it needs to be relevant, and you may want to add what a summary of the content that you're doing. So if it's a story and then you have WH questions, you may want to put like a summary of what you're working on, because remember, the person who is going to purchase this is only it's only going to see 4 cards on a preview. So that's what we have. Let me see if we are missing one. So here we have, it needs to be informative. So I think that's the one that we're missing. Yeah. Yeah, right here. So it needs to be informative. Like we mentioned, for the teacher, instructions for the teacher, it needs to be relevant, concise, and add there a content summary. And with all of this thing, this is how you get an A+ description. So thank you all who commented on the chat. So now moving on to acknowledgements. So for acknowledgement, you need to cite all your sources that you're using. So like we mentioned before, if you're using an image that you didn't create, if you're using a font that you didn't create, if you're using an audio that you didn't create, you need to cite those sources. So this is super important, and one of the reasons many sellers don't get featured, or maybe they get a message from our legal team, is because they are not adding acknowledgements. So this is super important to keep in mind. If you're using a something from another author or another artist, you need to cite those sources. And for those sources that you are going to cite, you need to have the license, the permission to use it. So for that license, you need to read it carefully. Because many times the authors want you to link to their store. So you can put like the name of their store, but they put in the license that you need to link to their store. So please do that and follow the instructions. And then if you get your image or your font from the Boom store, you can actually acknowledge artists from the Boom store, from our page. And here we have a tab that I'm going to put here. And so how you do that, you go to the deck details, and in the about, you'll see acknowledge Boom sellers. And so you can go ahead and click browse, and you'll be able to type the name of the seller or the store, the paint name, and then you just click on them and they'll appear here. And what you will do is, when the buyer is looking at your acknowledgement, they'll be able to click on that store, and they'll get, like, for example, someone is looking at your deck and they're like, oh my God, I love these images. So they can click on that store and purchase those images. So, and this is how you do, if you want, if you need to link to their store, you just put the name of the store and then the link for the store there. So let's just hide this. And then this is how you get acknowledgements, an A+ on acknowledgements. So let me see, yeah. And now moving on to keywords. I'm moving like the chat around the screen. So moving on to keywords. So you can see some of the keywords listed at the top of the deck's store page. So if someone is looking for Valentine's Day, for example, they'll see that they're using that keyword when they type that on the search. So you can use that. The keywords, you can use phrases, you can use single words. They work as tags, so you need to keep that in mind. You need to keep in mind while the educator or the buyer is searching. You need to keep in mind what would you type if you're looking for this certain type of deck. So if you're using a theme, add that to your keywords. if you're doing a specific concept, add that to your keywords. So you can, again, you can use phrases, you can use single words, and you can separate your keywords with spaces or commas. And so keep in mind that keywords are changing, like how we use it, we change it. But yeah, what is important is to tag your stuff with as many relevant points as possible, because if someone searches for a concept, you want your deck to appear. So like I mentioned, if you're using a theme, put that on your keywords. So we take the title into account as well, like I mentioned, but people will rarely search for your title. So you will want to use your keywords. So tag things based on subject and concept, which we're going to be talking next. Make sure your grade level stuff is marked as well, since people can set their searches to be aimed at the age group for their kids or students. So basically, the more information you give us in the deck details and the keywords, the more ways their deck, like your deck, can appear in the store. So please keep in mind that keyword stuffing does get detected and it will hurt your search score. So and when we say keyword stuffing is like, for example, Valentine's Day, Valentine's Day, like repeating a word constantly, it will actually hurt your search score because the system does detect that. So please keep in mind, keyword stuffing will hurt your search score. And so don't go overboard, only tag what's relevant, okay? So this is how you can get, oh, where is it? Yeah, an A+ keywords. And now moving on to subjects and grades. So like I mentioned before, this will also affect your search on the store, because teachers now can choose their subjects and the grades and even subtopics. So for subjects, you want to match the subject specifically. And for example, immersion language content will have the native and instruction language match. Non-immersion content will have one language for natives, such as English, and a second language for the language being learned, such as French or Spanish. And you also want relevant subtopics, because the first topic or subject that you choose is the one that will appear on top on the search. So for grades, you want to close match also to the grade, and do not add extra grades, because again, people will want to search for the grades. And if we're looking for secondary levels decks, and then you put like an addition 1 to 10, for example, deck set as secondary, it will be like, this is not what I'm looking for, and you don't want to do that. So our search will return products that match the buyer's selected subject first. So if you have not selected subjects or have poorly matched subject, you will not return in results where you want to be seen. So please keep that in mind. And for grades, our resource favors product that most closely match the searcher's selected grade levels. So it's the same for us as subjects. So if you have added extra grade levels, such as university, to a K1 or 2 product, it will harm your position in the search results. So keep that also in mind. You can select multiple grades and multiple subjects if your content apply to a wider range. So to select multiple choices, you can hold down your shift key and it will let you select multiple choice. Multiple subjects. So here we have a tab to show you the difference between subject, which in this case will be English language art, and the relevant subtopics, which will be writing and research skills. So now we have that, and this is new. So you can choose up to seven subjects, and you have this here, limit of 7. So keep that in mind while you're choosing your subjects and your grades. And so this is how you score an A+ on subjects and grades. Okay, there you go. So now for clip art, fonts, GIFs, and audio. So font, clip, and audio permission granted or denied list, we have this as an FAQ. So if you go to the help button that we have on the Boom page, you can type font, clip art, and audio permission list, and it will give you this list that we have over here, which have a list of artists that have even give us permission or deny the permission to use their product on Boom card. So you'll find the link to their store. So if you don't know where to find your clip arts or some GIFs or audio, you can go there and search for an author that have already give permission for the products being used for Boom cards. So for GIF files, I wanted to mention that the size should be below 300 KB. And this is super important because if not, it will appear as a static image. So please keep in mind that if you don't see your GIF moving, this is probably why. And same with sounds. Sounds must be MP3 or M4A format, and it should be below 500 KB. So you can find more information on our Q&A, on our FAQs. And like I mentioned, on the help button that we have on the Boom store, on the Boom page, you can type whatever you're looking for and you find an article about it. And so I just see Kyle just post the link for this article. So thank you, Kyle. And let me see. Yeah. So yeah, this is how you get your clip arts and fonts and GIFs and audio from. And remember to keep in mind to read the license and the permissions they give you and to acknowledge the authors on the acknowledgement section. So for external sales, if you want to sell outside of Boom Learning, you may want to embed that link in a PDF. So we mentioned that we also have an FAQ about it, and we even have examples. I think we have it on Word document and we have it on PowerPoint document that you can tweak it as how you want it, and you can edit it if you want to change your title, of course, if you want to add your logo. But we have like pretty much all the instructions that you need and all the things that you need, and like instruction like link here or add your link here. So where's that link? So, oh yeah, no, this is the FAQs. Yeah, let me put this first. There you go. Now if we see it. So you'll find this link on the details of the deck. You go to TPT or other, and these are the links that you may want to copy. And this is one of the examples that we have, one of the PDFs examples that we have for you that have like instructions or details about the deck, screenshots, and also like a word saying, click here to get yours. And this is how where you add your link or embed your link, because it cannot be like the full link. So this is where you can put it. And then we have an FAQ about how to sell on other marketplaces, and that's where you can find the template for the PDF and all the information you need. It is actually a mandatory reading, so you can search that on our Boom Learning support page. So like I mentioned, find the link on the details of the deck and check out our mandatory reading. And now moving on to copyright and legal. I know we have a couple of questions about this. So first things, no ads on cards. So this is super important. You may get your store suspended if you have an ad on a card. You can actually have your pen name or like ad, I don't know, the viral teacher. You can have that super small at maybe the bottom of a card. So when someone is playing, they can see who's that product from, but no more ads on the card. For example, instructions for the teacher should be on the description, like we mentioned before, not on cards, because we want to make cards for students, not for example for teacher. And if it's a card or a deck for teacher that we can also create, you can put like instructions on the card, but your title should be, this is for a teacher, for example. So no ads on cards. You need to have your acknowledgements. So like I mentioned, you can get your store suspended, or you can get a message from our legal team that you need to do acknowledgements. And this is super important because you want to acknowledge that author that created that beautiful image that you're using to make your deck more, I don't know, engaging. I'm sorry. So you want to add those acknowledgements. So if you want to use our logo and trademark, you can use, or you should be using, our new logo. So this is if you're promoting your decks on external sites, or you want to use our logo in your cover image, you need to be using the new logo. So you can also find this on an FAQ that I'll be showing after this. So this is what you should be using on your like promo. And lastly, check out our legal FAQs. And if you have any more questions, you can email legal@boomlearning.com to our legal agents, and they'll be more than happy to answer all of your questions. And so here we have the tabs. So here we have the policy for public authors. So how to publish to the store, all the legal topics that you need. The licensing links, you have optimizing product discoverability, and you'll find, for example, quality over quantity, for example, and all of that stuff. And the font and clipper permission list that I just mentioned before. So these are a couple of FAQs that you may want to check out for legal and copyright issues. But if you have no ads on cards, you have your acknowledgement on point, and you're using a new logo, and maybe, I don't know, your pen name super small, I think you're good to go. So this is how you score an A+ on legal. And now for best practices, you want to be creative. So for example, I don't know if you noticed, but throughout this webinar, I added a couple of games that you can use on your boom cards. So we have multiple choice, fill in the blank, correct and incorrect answers, drag and drop. So you can use those to your benefit, and think about the students while they are playing through the deck. So you want to be creative while you're creating your decks. Like I mentioned, quality over quantity. So this is super important because many times we receive like ask for the deck or store to be featured, but like it needs to be quality over quantity. So no errors, no ads, and yeah, you need to keep that in mind. Good use of discoverability elements such as keywords, titles, the description, all of that I mentioned. It will help you to be discovered on the Boom store. So good use of those. For example, like I mentioned, keyword stuffing would not help you. So please keep that in mind. again, no errors on decks. So no misspellings, no incorrect facts, no bad grammar. And this is the number one reason why decks aren't being featured sometimes. So please keep that in mind. No errors on decks. Skip saturated niches. So for example, music, like unsaturated niches could be music. So right now we're having new music teacher sellers. So you may want to be starting creating music if you're a music teacher or a music specialist. Secondary high school, we don't have as many decks for a higher education or university or college grade level. So you may want to be like starting to create decks about it. And for example, psychology, we need decks about psychology, for example. So skip saturated niches for, to get yourselves up and be ahead of the curve. So if you're doing, for example, a Valentine's Day theme deck, you may want to publish that like months before, for example, on December or January or even November, because teachers are planning ahead of time. So if they want to use a Valentine's Day theme deck, they may be looking for that on November or January. So if you publish a Valentine's Day deck on, I don't know, the 13th of February, that deck may be sold like next year or something. So be ahead of the curve, and that will help you a lot when you're for discoverability and to sell, so your sales go up. And lastly, we have how to get features. So this is a question that we receive a lot and a lot of requests. So the first thing is that you need to have an A+ store. So now that you take this webinar, you know how to get an A+ store and you know what we're looking for. So if you follow the instructions that we give you or the tips that we give you today, you'll be getting an A+ store, and you probably get featured more because you have an A+ store. So we have no complaints. So also, at least we're looking for stores that at least have 20 decks. So please keep that in mind. To get featured, you need to have at least 20 decks on your stores. And remember, quality over quantity. So those decks need to be a good quality. So we also, you can also join the publisher Facebook group if you have Facebook. We're posting weekly a post about weekly theme that we wanna, let's go to here. That we want to feature. So each week we're having a theme, and that you will find on the Publisher Champion weekly post by Jorge Riera, and you'll find that on the group, and you can post there. And that's the next step. You can post your decks there on the Facebook group post, and we'll look over those and we'll choose a couple of them to be featured for that theme, that week's theme. Also, we have a feature form. So you can find that, like I mentioned, if you put on the help button on the home page, if you put feature form or I want to get feature or how to get feature, you'll find that form. If you fill out the form, you'll be added to the list that we have, and we can choose your store from that. So that's how you can get featured. So remember, follow the tips on this webinar on how to get an A+ store. No errors on decks, no incorrect facts, or no bad grammar, and you might get featured. So this is how you get featured. And so this is the end of our webinar before the live Q&A, but I wanted to ask what do I take away from this webinar? So you get how to create or have a good description, how to have a good cover images, how to sell, you have even ideas on how to what type of games you can use, because I added those to this. How to get an A plus pen name, keywords, subjects and grades, and acknowledgement, the importance of acknowledgement and how to do it, where you can find clip arts, fonts, GIF, and audio, how you can have a good logo or eye-catching logo, the copyright and legal stuff, how to find your external sales link, how to create good titles for you to be found on the store, how to give feature and best practices when selling boom cards. So this was it. Do you guys have any questions? We can now move on to the live Q&A.
That was amazing. Thank you, Johnny Shell. We have some questions from the audience that's watching. And I was wondering if you could share your screen again to show how to acknowledge boom publishers and artists.
Oh, got it. Let me go back to this. And this will be like a behind the scenes when creating this type of deck. So here is like the deck. So here, if you I added like a menu at the beginning. So that image actually goes to the specific card that we want or slide. So if you go to the details, you click on that and you'll see about, search, subject, play, TPT, and other. So you go to about, and then you can see here, acknowledge boom sellers. So if you click on browse, you see a list of all the sellers that we have. So for example, I just saw the viral teacher. Oh, wait. Ooh. And there we have it. And then we can add, for example, add acknowledgement. And let me go back. Details, and there it is, the viral teacher. So that's how you can acknowledge boom sellers. If you got an image and you purchase an image or a font from the boom store, that's how you can acknowledge boom sellers. And here is where you put, for example, teacher, and then www, and then you'll put the link to the store. So this is how you acknowledge authors, which is super important if you want to get feature and for legal stuff.
Awesome. Thank you. There was another request for a question that someone didn't understand the bundle. What is the number at the beginning?
Oh, got it. Yeah. So I can probably share my screen, but maybe it take me some time to find an example. But this is when, for example, with the addition, because it's simple for me to explain. So let's say I'm doing addition from 1 to 100, and I'm dividing those into tens. So I'm doing one deck from addition from 1 to 10, and then another deck addition from 10 to 20, etc. I have a couple of different decks with the same assignment. So what sellers do is they create a bundle and they bundle up those decks. And what I was mentioning is that you should put one, for example, 1 period addition 1 to 10, and then the next one 2 period addition 10 to 20, because when the teacher is assigning those decks, and this actually we received this feedback last week over a call from a teacher who was assigning. So when they are assigning, they have a bunch of decks, so they may want to look for that specific one and assign that in order. But if you have Valentine's Day, math addition 1 to 10, they won't be able to see the 1 to 10, and they'll need to click on the deck to see the entire title, for example, or play throughout the deck to see like the assignment they are assigning to the students. So this is why we recommend putting that the name or order there that you put it that on the title. I
Okay.
don't know if that makes sense. If you still have questions, let me know.
No, it sounds right to me. We have other question here. What are some examples of discoverability elements?
So discoverability elements are what will help you get your products like discoverable on the store. So what we mean by that is your keywords, good use of keywords. The title, for example, if you're again, if a teacher is looking for addition, that's what I'm going to put, and what should the title say? So keywords, description, title, grades, subjects, and subsubjects. So subtopics. So those are discoverability elements that you can use for buyers to find your text better.
Okay. What are some of the unsaturated niches, the opportunities where there's not a lot of boom cards being made yet?
Okay, so like I mentioned, you can we don't have a lot of, for example, music teachers. So if you know about music, if you teach music, this is a good opportunity. If you know someone who teaches music, this is a good opportunity to sell because we don't have a lot of those. Also, secondary grade levels decks. If you're a teacher, a secondary teacher, or if you knew or you know someone that's a secondary teacher or a higher level teacher, this is an unsaturated niche that you may wanna try to, to sell. And I also mentioned psychologists. So yeah, we have a lot of psychologists looking for psychology texts, and we don't have many. So if you know tips or something, you can start doing those also, and you may increase your sales.
Yeah, and high school level material. Pretty much
Yeah, and
anything for high schoolers would probably become popular because
exactly.
there's
Also, and also, if you're, for example, if you're an elementary teacher, it doesn't mean that you won't be selling, but you want to look for what you're teaching at the moment, for example. So you can skip the general topics and be more specific with some topics that maybe no one is creating text about. So you may want to start creating decks about things that you teach that are specific topic, and that may be unsaturated niche. So
yeah. What are some examples of good titles for a deck or a bundle?
so again, for titles, let me look if I had yeah, it needs to be student friendly, teacher friendly, and think about the teacher when they are assigning and the student when they are looking through their assignment list. So let's say like the one I mentioned, addition 1 to 10, sixth grade math, for example, Valentine's Day. So that's something that you may want to use because you have everything there. And when the teacher is assigning, they can see the title that they are looking for, and it's easy for the student to identify the assignment that they got to do that day or that week. So
Okay. Thanks. That's a great answer. If there's another question here, if a deck has great artwork and content, what would prevent it from being featured the most? And I think you covered this. But
yeah. Yeah, so what I mentioned, sometimes small errors in grammar or spelling may stop us from featuring decks. So you may want to skip that, maybe adding, for example, your opinion or something that's not a fact, which will be an opinion, but something like that, you may want to skip it because the deck may be like good looking, but if we have like a misspelled word or instruction or an opinion there that is like specifically for you or for your group, you may not get featured. So yeah, please keep that in mind.
Okay. Yeah, so that make sure there's no errors.
Yes.
That may be the big one, So,
Mhm.
um, there's another question here. Why can't I tag something as university and second grade if it's used for adult education?
So you should tag anything for adult special education as grade not specified. So the university grade level tag is reserved for advanced post-secondary content. So I think we actually added that like grade not specified for these specific cases. So that'll be it.
Okay. There's another question here. Someone's asking about putting their own logo in their boom cards. Is that considered advertising, or can you put your logo into your boom cards?
So you can put your own logo to your boom cards, but it needs to be like I mentioned, like for example, this is the deck. So it needs to be like right here, like this size, for example. So it needs to be super, super small. And like I mentioned, if it's eye-catching, someone can say, oh, that's this store or that's this person by just looking at a really small logo, but no ads on cards because we cannot add to students. So you can have your logo on a card, but it should be super, super, super small and maybe on here. So
Okay. I hopefully that will answer the question there. I think, yeah, a little went wrong direction. Smaller than this one,
yeah, no,
probably in the composition. I have another question from Laura. When trying to title a deck, when trying to keep in mind the teacher who is assigning many titles at a time and needs to see the individual titles, for example, in a bundle, how much can the teacher see on their screen? What is the window they need? I think
um, yeah,
I might be able to answer that. It's you might be able to zoom out by hitting Control minus on your keyboard when viewing your browser to shrink the page and cause the title text to get smaller in the details window. And the details window is where Jean-Michel was showing how to acknowledge Boom Publishers, the titles at the top of that. So I hope that's answering the question. I think it might be.
yeah, and I think it's like let's say 7 words that they see because you know the page when assigning is like a little bit smaller. So yeah, that's kind of it. You can try it if you go to like classes and you try to assign one, you'll be able to see how long the title is. So if you want to try your own decks, you can do that. You can actually try to assign your own deck to a student, like maybe a dummy student, I think it is, when it's not real. So you can try to do that and you'll be able to see how long should be your title.
Yes, you can privately publish what you're making to sort of test it out in a classroom, a test classroom. Okay, I don't see any other questions. We have a little bit of time. Well, not quite. um, well, I think then we're gonna end the webinar here. And I just want to thank everybody for attending. This was really fun for me. I loved watching uh, the presentation in Boom Cards, like a game of it while talking about it at the same time. It's just really exciting for me. And I want to share the end screen real quick, and I just want to thank everyone again and remind everyone about the feedback form. If you fill out the survey in that link, it really is helpful for us to better present to you and give you relevant information that will help you. And that's it for me, and I hope everybody has a wonderful afternoon. Bye, guys.